Hey, welcome back everybody to Skits Tuts Episode 2 Part 2, baby. Yeah, let's get it on. So, this episode is going to be about the intro splash screen and how you can put your company logo. Like when somebody starts the game and you see the company name, we're going to do that, and it's going to transition into the main menu. And we're not going to design the menu in this video, but in part 3 we're going to get right to it. So let's get started. Right now I designed a script so that you don't have to endure me coding and everything. You can just see the script, copy it, and I'll show you how to put it into the hierarchy and get everything into your scene. I imported an image, which is my company logo, which I'll be using, and I imported an audio from Freesound. So you notice how these have folders, and you're like, well, how can I do that to be more organized, right? Well, in assets, you'll right click, create folder, and we're going to call this one images. Now I'm going to make a subfolder by right clicking images, and I'm going to create another folder. We'll call this intro images. And it's good to be specific, because once you have prefabs, audio, you don't want intro for audio, intro for images and everything. So it's better to name it so you don't accidentally put a file in the wrong place and then it's lost. And if you need to access it, and trust me, it's not fun trying to track everything down. So to save time, I just say it's a good practice to do this. So I'm gonna put my image in there. You'd want to create your folder, create the subfolder, and you'd want to right click and you'd want to import your asset. Wherever you have it saved on your file, you want to go through here and it'll automatically put it inside there. But since I already imported, all I have to do is create the folder and drop it in there. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder. We're going to name it audio, and as I mentioned before, subfolder, and this is going to be intro audio. So you can kind of see how they stand out apart, so you won't accidentally put an image in the audio. If it just says intro and intro, you might just real quick drag something, drop it in there, and not even notice it, you know? So that's why I like to be specific when I name my folders. And I'm going to take my audio file and I'm just going to drop it right in there. I did the same thing. You want to create a scripts folder, same concept, create folder, name it scripts, and once you get in there, you want to name it a subfolder intro scripts, and then you want to, on intro scripts, you want to right click, create, and you want to create a C# script. It'll take a second for it to compile and load into your project, and after that's done, you're going to want to double click onto it, and then Visual Studio is going to open. It's going to take a minute. It even tells you it's going to take a few minutes, but it takes a minute depending on your CPU processing power and all that. And on the script, you're going to want it to look like this right here. Basically, we're using an IE numerator, which is an iterating numerator. It's great for pauses, and that's exactly what this is. If you notice, it's pausing for the wait time, which is 5 seconds, which is 5.0, and that's the nature of a floating point. It's a decimal. Integers are whole numbers, and that's basically what you need to know for now. This right here, it's going to get the active scene, so it's going to find out the integer of what the scene is by the build index. the load scene is going to load whatever the build index is plus 1. So what this actually is when you go to build settings and I add the open scene. My scene is called intro, which I recommend you using. It has an integer of 0, so when it adds 1 to that, let's create a new scene, and we're gonna save this scene as, underneath scenes, we're gonna save it as main menu. So now that we have the main menu, we want to go back to build settings and we want to add this scene. And if you notice, it incremented by 1, and that's what the build, it's going to get the active scene and it's going to add 1 to it, and that's how we're going to get to the main menu. You can access it through main menu, which is good. I'll talk to you more about that, of how accessing it in later tutorials. For now, we're going to be working on this, but just know you will need that. Let me go back one more time. This is actually your project, so whatever order you have everything in is pretty much what it's going to play out as. So intro, main menu, level 1, level 2, level 3, etc. You have to have this in order to publish, so definitely do this. Let's go back to the intro scene. Now let's do some setting up. This is going to be your company logo, your emblem, the introduction to your game. When somebody opens your app, this is what they're going to see. I'm going to go with a black background. That's just the camera, and I designed an image that goes well with it. So you can just drop it in there anywhere. Now you can use this scaling tool to make it larger, or as long as it's highlighted, you can click the R on your keyboard and it brings up the scaling tool, and you can do it this way. So I like what I see right there. That should be okay. Now the next thing that we're going to want to do is set up an empty, we'll call this the audio holder. We're going to need to add a component to this, and it's an audio component, in case you didn't see that. It's audio. You go to audio source. Now we do want this to play on awake, so as soon as the program is awake, it's going to start playing. Now all we need is a file to put in an audio clip, which we have the intro audio. You'll have your own. Just drag it and drop it right there. Now we're good to go. So if we play the scene right now, we should hear the background music play. Alright, we're live. We are live now. We're good. So the way the code's set up is for wait time, which is 5 seconds. It should click over, but if you notice, it will not. So that brings me to the next thing. Create an empty, we'll call it script holder. We're going to add a component, and it's going to be a script, and we're going to add the intro script. Now mono behavior right here is, it's pretty much you have to have it attached to something in the scene, and everything in the scene is in the hierarchy. So I created that empty object and put the script on there, so now it's going to play. Now let me go over this code. I declared a floating point variable called wait time, and then the start, like we was talking about play on awake. Awake is a phase that happens before all the game objects are actually loaded, that's where you do all your major preloading. Start is actually when the program starts. That's the next phase. And that's when I initialize the variable to 5 seconds, which is a 5F for floating point. And I started a CoE routine, and it's actually go to next scene. So the CoE routine is going to call this function, and it's going to do whatever it tells it to here. So it's going to yield, return, new, wait for seconds, whatever we put here. And we can always change and update here. So if we have multiple things that's going to occur, like let's say that we had fireworks going off in the background, we can yield wait, and then we'll put the fireworks here, and then we'll put another yield wait, and then some other animation or something else cool happens, and we keep yield. And if you're trying to adjust the time individually, you're going to have to change the time on 5 to 10 different yield weights. So I like to create a variable, and we can just change it one time, and it'll update for every single one of them, and it'll make it a lot smoother and easier. So I say it's a good practice. Go for it. Do it. And I kind of briefly explained the scene manager.load scene. That's how you access the scene. You can also do the same thing that we're doing by just saying you want to put the quotations, and you can say main menu or whatever you named it, and it will load this scene this way. You don't have to do it like this, but for this particular instance, I just think it's more efficient and optimal. Now when your player dies, you don't want it to go to the next scene. You have to call the death scene specifically. So like I said, later tutorials we'll get in deep and you'll see it. For now, just trust me. The system collections is actually what the IRD rating numerator is a part of. So it's a .NET based type deal, and if you don't know anything about it, I don't really want to get deep. But the Unity engine you pretty much always use, and the scene management is what makes the scene manager and everything pop up. So now we have the script holder and the script attached. It should go to the next scene, which would be here. So let's click play and see if after 5 seconds it doesn't make the transition to the next scene. Alright, there it is. Our main menu is right there. And that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Tune in next time where we will make that main menu and we will get to the first level. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.